Welcome to Syd and Malcolm, new internet show, a new actually internet platform featuring podcasts and Zoomcasts. And Syd and Malcolm is one of them. And I have my co-host Syd Mandelbaum. Hey Syd, how you doing?
Good afternoon. I love your new studio behind you. It looks very professional.
Of course, it's a $1 million setup.
I see it. You must be selling a lot of ads to our podcast.
No, this is ad free. I'm doing like a PBS.
Oh, so this is Tzedakah. This is Malcolm Tzedakah project.
Right. Actually, I'm gonna put a thing into you fund me.
Thank you.
So how are you all doing?
We're doing well. We had a lot of activities this week. I'm waiting to hear actually from the New York Yankees because they are going to be presented an award this week. I'm going to show it to you. First to the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I can read.
And also to the Yankee Stadium. This is through the EPA. They have been awarded the 2020-21 Food Recovery Challenge Achievement Certificate. EPA Region 2 commends Yankee Stadium for your demonstrated commitment to food recovery in 2020 and 2021. So I'll do that presentation at the stadium probably either tomorrow or Friday. And the operations manager will be there, as well as the vice president of community affairs for the New York Yankees, Brian Smith.
Who owns the Yankees now?
The Yankees are owned by the Steinbrenner family.
It's still in the family.
Absolutely. And they still are a very profitable organization to the point that they could probably run every game with no one in the stands and make a fortune because of all of the cable contracts that they have. It's other than, I guess, the Dodgers and the Red Sox, they are the most profitable teams, and they have the largest audience throughout the US and the rest of the world.
Yeah,
you see Yankee hats in every country. So that tells you something.
Well, I'm old enough. I remember when Steinbrenner was in New York was not a revered name. And
that is true, but that's changed, and we're very appreciative that they built the stadium. Rock and wrap it up. This is our 18th season being involved with the New York Yankees. And I could tell you that in 2007, Diane and I were asked to present to a New York City community board for the Yankees to be enabled to build a new stadium. And we were part of their loan. So we guaranteed their loan as being good people. We didn't guarantee the money, but we guaranteed their being ethical and being community involved. And we signed certificates for them.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say if you guaranteed the loan and your credit was that good, I'm building up a green network. I don't know if I mentioned to you with all the shows pertaining to helping this planet survive. And
well, we're in the forefront of that. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that today during our broadcast. Mm-hmm. Let's get started.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you about that. Did you have the meeting with DoorDash?
Yes. So we now have a follow-up meeting tomorrow, just 5 of us, and we're going to talk about the feasibility of giving them assignments, not just in food. One of the things that I may have mentioned a week or two ago were that we have a company that greens buildings, and they go into buildings, especially companies that do maintenance on buildings. And one of the items that we've always collected are half toilet paper rolls. We had a project started 14 years ago called Hotel Wrap. And I was a keynote speaker at one of their national meetings. And for the purpose of reminding them that none of these items that are on the vanity that sometimes get thrown away when a new guest comes in. All those items should be going to the poor. And one of them is toilet paper rolls. If a new guest comes in, for the most part, they will they replace the toilet paper roll, and the half roll had been thrown away. And now we tell people that that should be put away and collected. The same with hotels. Now, many of the hotels have changed. They don't give you the small bottles anymore. They actually have on the wall a soap and shampoo dispenser. And that is a great way of greening the hotel, not getting those little bottles that are thrown away. With the era of COVID, though, many of the hotels are cleaning the vanity off when a new guest comes in. So on the vanity may be a shower cap, maybe a sewing kit, a little container of mouthwash, along with soap, shampoo, body lotion. And in the past, all those were thrown away. Not anymore. They now are collected by hotels. And when we organized the first whole earth calculator on our website, we actually put paper and plastics as part of the algorithms so that you could put the weight in of your plastic container or the weight in of your paper and find out how much greenhouse gas has been diverted by you donating these items. Yeah. Which is a segue to something you and I spoke earlier about how the NFL Super Bowl had generated quite a lot of food, and that food is going to agencies in the Los Angeles area.
Right. Yeah, I have that article. It's in the local newspaper, San Fernando Valley. It's uneaten food for big games fills LA needy, feeds LA needy.
So I'll tell you how much that could be. We started it. It's a Super Bowl 46. So I think that now it's Super Bowl 56.
56.
So it's Super Bowl 46 was held at that time Giant Stadium in New Jersey, and we were able to get the NFL to buy into the recovery of events food, and we recovered 37,000 pounds of food. Wow. From 7 different events. Now, a lot of their events were events that had 5,000 people because they had the whole NFL management there. All of the teams were represented. There were some smaller organizations that had large events, and we were able to, with enough time, have all of that food going to the hungry of the tri-state area. Along with that, there were items that were generated at the Super Bowl, like cloth bunting was hung throughout the stadium, thousands of yards of it. Well, that bunting went to agencies that do clothing for schools. And many of the local schools were able, those that have classes that are teaching dressmaking and clothing making, they were able to get that clothing, that bunting, which was basically cloth, and it did not go into landfill. And the first year, 10 years ago, we actually gave the NFL how many meals it equaled, 37,000 pounds of food. We divided by 1.2 pounds is the USDA meal equivalency. We're able to give them how many pounds of greenhouse gas were diverted. And all of that were wound up on the NFL website. Since that point, the NFL has put up an organization within their organization called NFL Green. And a lot of it supplanted what we do, but we had the original game plan, so to speak, for this.
Now you had mentioned you were meeting, and you're meeting with DoorDash?
Yes. So DoorDash represents a national pickup organization. They now have a foundation, the DoorDash Foundation, that they now have volunteers that work for them that will do food recovery. It started, I think, 2 years ago, and so far they have recovered 1 million meals. This year, and I had a meeting with them last Friday, they want to have 10 million meals that they will deliver to the indigent and needy at-risk people throughout the United States. And we look to work with them. One of the aspects that we're also offering them in the New York area, there are a dozen buildings that are now generating half rolls of toilet paper. The maintenance companies take the toilet paper, put it into large plastic bags. It comes out to about 2 ounces per roll of paper. The average roll of paper is 4 ounces of paper, including the little dur that they wrap them in.
Is that what it's called?
We call it durs. Years ago, we actually used to smoke joints on it. They were called carburetors. We would take the toilet paper roll, put a hole on it, put a joint in, put your hand on it, and you'd be able to get a very big hit.
One toke, you could get high.
Yeah, so that was called durs. We used to call it dur because when you were a kid, you were dur then.
Yeah.
So we have this operation that we would like DoorDash to be involved, and then working with this agency that is called Zero Waste, and introduce them to DoorDash, because there might be a synergy to have this organization throughout the bigger cities that have these huge buildings. Sadly, a lot of them are not used right now. People have not gone back to work 100%. But in the day that they will be back at work, they'll be generating the same amount of waste that they are now. And there's no reason why those toilet paper rolls can't go to agencies that are fighting poverty throughout the United States.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the company that my son just left that does the janitorial services for like UCLA and USC, and I think NYU. I mean, most of these, large universities hire janitorial services. They don't have their own staff.
Well, there's a good chance that the janitorial services can do the same things, that if they're replacing toilet paper rolls, when they're half done, collect them, get a hold of us, and we'll be able to have those picked up.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you have some people that work with you to do like an outreach program to contact them instead of waiting for them to, as I always do, it's a sales to be proactive.
Well, a janitorial program is something that this company, Net Zero, might be very interested in. So I will speak to them and give them your idea and see if it's something that they are already doing it or not, but it seems like a great idea.
Right.
But I'll tell you how all of this started. I don't know if I ever spoke about Sports Wrap. We started Sports Wrap in 2003. This is our 20th year, picking up food from arenas and stadiums.
Right.
And it came to us from a woman who read about us in a magazine in Detroit. Her husband was a pitcher on the Detroit Tigers. She said her husband had quite a lot of food left over at the end of each night in the clubhouse. Can they arrange to have it picked up? And that's how Sports Wrap was born.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that. But now that you have, if you have DoorDash, can you, and you have an in with the, or, do work with the NFL, the Major League Baseball? I don't know if you do it in basketball.
Sure.
With DoorDash, could you contact the associations to, as I say, the major sports arenas, and arrange it where you can get DoorDash picking up all their food?
Absolutely. In fact, we're already doing it without DoorDash. The New York Knicks and Rangers give us food every week. And that's been picked up from Rockland Wrap-It-Up since we had met with James Dolan almost 20 years ago. Madison Square Garden became the first arena to actually allow us to pick up concert food. And they then progressed to do other items with us. We now work closely with UBS, the New York Islanders. That's a brand new arena that opened up at Belmont Racetrack. And we have agencies that do food recovery after every Islander game. And that's a food from the luxury boxes as well as from the concessions.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering, again, you're more or less concentrating in New York, but now that you could do nationwide, whether there's a way of coordinating
Sure.
the arenas through the league, the
We
league
already do it.
associations.
We already do it without DoorDash. We have it in Chicago. We have it in LA. We have it in Denver. We have it in Boston. And we have it in Washington.
Oh,
We've been doing this many years. What happens is that quite a number of agencies do the pickups now, and we are kind of passive. We've already opened the doors for them, and they just go and pick the food up, which is just perfect because we really don't care what happens as long as people are fed and nothing goes into landfill.
right.
And we've been blessed that a lot of these concepts that Rockland Rapid developed over these last 31 years have really held on. And we have changed American culture, where people that have worked with us in the past don't even contact anymore. They may belong to a church themselves that has a pantry or a facility to feed the hungry, and they just bring the food over there.
Mhm.
We like to know about it because, again, we like to keep the statistics for the donors.
Right.
We also want to have a hands-on approach for another reason. Other than feeding people, the most important thing for us is to feed them safely. And we ask that every one of our partners that are feeding the hungry have a health certificate issued by a local municipality, which looks over their operation. So that way we know that safe food handling is being used. We're all under the covenant of the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act of 1996. We are free of liability as long as safe food handling is used. And one of the components for me of safe food handling is to have somebody looking over their shoulder when I'm not there. So we know that their people have been trained in safe food handling, and there is a local organization that continually goes in to check them over. And without giving myself a canahara, as they say in Italian, I'm blessed that no one has ever sued us in 31 years for getting sick.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
we have done a great job and continue to.
And as I say, you score points.
All we care about is feeding people.
Or as I say, you may not know the word, you have a mitzvah.
Well, that's true. I mean, a mitzvah is doing a good deed, but
Right.
the key to mitzvah is to get other people to do mitzvahs.
Right.
It's not enough for you to do them, but you have to make other people feel that they have a need to do them. And one of the last tattoos that I got a couple of months ago when I went to see my daughter is that I had the number of mitzvahs that we're supposed to do. These are the 613 is the number of commandments that God has given us. And I had that 613 put on my arm.
Oh, 60, I didn't even know that. That's how many mitzvahs we have to be.
Well, that's how many commandments God gave us, but most of them are about doing mitzvahs for other people. To paraphrase what George Patton said. George Patton said when they asked him about war, and he said, the object of war is not for you to die for your country, but to make the other poor son of a bitch die for his country. And my thing is that it's not enough for me to do the mitzvah. It's for other people to realize that they could do the same thing and they do the mitzvah.
Well, that's, I don't know, a lot of the times I walk down the street, that's in California and New York, and I have a group of Hasidic Jews, come over to me and they ask me whether I'm Jewish or not. And I say, yes. And they say, do you like to film? That's what you bind your arms in the morning and put this, I don't know, this little thing in your head.
It's called a phylactery.
Phylactery. And I say, no. They said, well, you do it for me. I say, yeah, but I don't believe in it necessarily. They said, yeah, but for us, it's a mitzvah if you do it.
That's
if
true.
It's for you, I'll do it.
Well, that's interesting because I do late tefillin in the morning and I read a very, very simple prayer that basically says this. I put on tefillin that I may fulfill the mitzvah of my Creator, who has commanded us to wear tefillin as written in the Torah. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. The tefillin contain 4 passages from the Torah in Deuteronomy, which affirms the uniqueness of God. I place the tefillah on my arm opposite my heart to recall God's outstretched arm and to direct my heart to the worship of God. I set the other tefillin on my head as a reminder to devote my thoughts, senses, and abilities to the service of the Lord. And I say that every morning when I put on my tefillin.
Well,
So pretty simple.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I met through you, the Reverend Fletcher Harper.
Uh-huh.
I talked to him that if people, no matter what religion they are, if they just did what God or even Jesus commanded them to do, which is help the poor and help the the homeless, we wouldn't be in the condition we are now.
Well, it's interesting because before the industrial age, so we're talking before the real 19th century, most of the poor were fed by the church. In fact, in our Torah, it says that you're commanded to leave a portion of your field unharvested for the hungry. And that's been going on for at least 5,000 years, that there are always people that sadly have issues, always have and always will. So thereby, we are commanded to, in most places, they say 10% of your field and crop should be left for those that are of need. When there was no industrial age, people were fed because we were an agrarian society. Now that we are not, there is a need for soup kitchens, pantries, and shelters to do that.
But we take it to the next step. If people don't raise food and they have factories and they produce products, shouldn't that be then interpreted the 10% of whatever they produce in the factories should be left to give to the poor?
Well, in many cases, it is. You have companies now, I'll use a company called Bamba. We are a beneficiary of Bamba. Bamba is Italian for bee, and they make a line now of socks, underwear, undershirts, and for every pair that they sell, they give a pair to the poor. And we are the recipient. This year we'll get we'll get underwear and undershirts as well. But for the last 3 years, we've gotten over 4,000 pair of underwear, of socks to give to the poor. And this is from this one company.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an extension of from when we're agrarian society, because when we did the plants and the food products, this is an extension, is now we do manufactured products, but it should be 10%. Well, how much is a tithe generally?
Most churches depend on what you earn, but the recommendation is 10% of what you earn.
But the question is that gross or net?
Never asked. Most people want to do something, but they don't know how. And that's why organizations like us, many school districts, by the way, require community service hours for graduation. And we get quite a lot of volunteers, especially around the holiday time when I have activities for students to do, and they'll bring their sheets in and they have to do XYZ hours per year. And Diane and I will sign off on those sheets so that the kids get credit for the community service that they have to do.
Well, I'll tell you, I am looking for someone to promote my shows, including your show. So if you have a volunteer that, a teenager that's well-versed in the computers, let me know.
I will.
We could work something, because I know how to produce shows, but I don't know how to market them effectively.
Now, there are organizations now that I've been involved with. One of them is called Key Club. I've been a member of the Kiwanis organization since 1974. Kiwanis is an international service organization. I was teaching at Lincoln High School in Brooklyn. I was a third year teacher. I had left Canarsie High School when I was at an overabundance of teachers. I was hired by Lincoln High School. It was my first couple of months teaching. I was approached by the principal. They said, "Syd, you're a new teacher and you're young and energetic." We were approached by an organization called Kiwanis Club of Coney Island. They met in a great restaurant called Gargiulo's, which is still open. It's over 100 years old. And they would like to have a service organization to give scholarships out at Lincoln High School. Would you be interested in getting involved with them? I said, absolutely. So in 1974, I went to a Kiwanis meeting at Gargiulo's. I met the president of the club. He said, these are the activities that we see other clubs doing in Brooklyn. And, if you could get students to want to do work, that'd be great. And it was interesting because in those years, I was teaching mainly ninth grade general science classes. So I went to my classes and I said, I'm looking for students to do some work after school and to form a club to do service. And I got 20 kids, all of them girls, 14 and 15-year-olds. And we formed the first Key Club for the Coney Island Kiwanis Club. And in April of 1975, we went to the state of New York and said, we'd like to be chartered as an official Key Club for the Coney Island Kiwanis Club. And they came back to me and said, we saw that you have 20 students, but all of them are girls. And we don't have girls in our Key Clubs. And I went to the president of the Key Club, Vinny Castaldo, and Vinny said, I'll take care of that. And he went up to Albany with a number of Kiwanians and said, look, aren't you a little bit behind? This is just the beginning of women's lib in the early 70s. And we were the first chartered Key Club that had women. And from that point on, women have been in Key Club in New York State.
Was there a guy involved in the Kiwanis, a guy named Pat Aletta?
I don't know.
Pat had a Pat Sporting Goods store on in Coney Island.
Vinny was a butcher, and Castaldo Meats were quite a large butcher shop. And I'm sure they were connected to the Castellano family, who ran most of the meats in Brooklyn, meat distribution. And I stayed friendly with Vinny Castaldo for years.
Kosher or non-kosher?
Non-kosher. But Vinny Castaldo, great man, and I was blessed. And now, 45 years later, I am very active in the Kiwanis Club of the Five Towns. I joined that club in 1980, and I became president of that club in 1989. I served a year as president, and I now do activities, and I'm still involved in youth scholarship, where we make sure that students that are in the Key Club, but also maybe have some financial needs, are given scholarships by the Kiwanis Club of the Five Towns.
Yeah, Kiwanis Club was big in sports, weren't they? I remember them sponsoring sports teams in the Kaiser Park.
What was very big in sports is another organization that I'm active in, and that's the American Legion. American Legion Baseball is a national phenomenon, and quite a number of ball players that made it to the major leagues started out in American Legion Baseball. It was the equivalent of Little League, but it was run by the American Legion in every small town in the United States.
It's a small town. I think I told you I know it's the last show, one of the other shows, that Gil Hodges was started out in the
American Legion.
American Legion.
Absolutely. And, funny you should bring Gil Hodges. Gil Hodges was very active in my community at the time. When I lived in Canarsie and Mill Basin. Gil Hodges had a bowling alley, Gil Hodges Lanes,
On Ralph Avenue?
on Ralph Avenue, and I would bowl there. And we all met Gil because he was an active partner there, and he loved kids.
Yeah, I think his son still has that, Gil
Could very
Hodges.
well be. But they were just a great group of people, and Gil was a great man.
Yeah, I know his wife still lives on Bedford Avenue.
Avenue.
The house that he lived in when he played with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, when he was managing the Mets and they won the World Series, we went over, me and a bunch of my friends went over to his house. And there was a group of people there welcoming him, like the conquering hero. I mean, he was so well loved.
He was. It was just sad that he passed away.
I didn't realize he was like 46, he died or something?
Yes, 48, yeah, in his late 40s.
At a young age.
And he was in great health, but he probably had a genetic issue with his heart that was undiagnosed. Now with all of the diagnosis, most of us are able to see if we have issues.
Well, I think physically with Gil Hodges, I think when I shook his hand, my hand was lost. He had such a large hand.
Well, he also was a catcher at one time. And catchers are known to have gnarly hands from all the foul tips that they have to have.
The only hand that I shook that was, I can imagine, that was similar to Gil was a guy named Johnny Unitas.
Oh, I don't know Unitas, but I know of Unitas.
Yeah. But I produced a commercial with him and I shook his hand. And again, it was my hand lost.
It's interesting because I am friendly. He passed away, but one of the stars of the Baltimore Colts was their receiver named John Mackey, very well-known Colt, made it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver, wasn't he?
Yes,
A tight end.
He came from Hempstead, and the Mackey family is very, very large. And his brother worked for me when I was with the Nassau County Human Rights Commission.
But I think John Mackey was very large also, broad-shouldered.
And his brother was a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mackey family, in fact, one of the Mackey family pastors still volunteers for me, Daryl Smith. Daryl's 63, and Daryl worked with the Mackeys for many, many years.
Anyway, Syd, I hate to tell you, but our time is up.
That went pretty quickly today.
It always goes quickly with me and you.
A lot of great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of great stuff. And again, I thank you for the world. I mean, how you're helping people.
Well, there's a lot more to do, unfortunately, and we need a lot more people. I did not get last week's show, so if you could send both shows to me, I will put them.
I don't know where you're not getting them, because I'm sending them out on Facebook.
Yeah, I just didn't receive them.
Okay.
All right, maybe send them as email if you can.
Or you can go over to malcolmpresents.com. I have all the back shows, and they're also on YouTube.
Okay.
Well, I will email it to you.
That'd be great.
Okay, kid. Have a good week.
Thank you. Thank you
very much. And remember, guys, we're on malcolmpresents.com. We're a platform with this and other shows that you might enjoy, and let us know what you think about it.
And we'd be interested. rockandwrapitup.org is our organization's site. 1-800-877-FOOD if you'd like to call us and make a donation. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Syd. See you next week.
Yep.